There's a moment in every long-running story when the cracks stop hiding in the shadows and finally become impossible to ignore. For years, fans watched one of television's most unusual families, a family built on plural marriage, public exposure, and private friction, and they wondered, how long can the image hold? Tonight, we arrive at one of those moments. Robyn Brown, long seen by viewers as the quiet, composed presence beside Kody, finally snaps. Pause, not a whisper, not a quiet retreat, she snaps. And when she does, what follows is both heartbreaking and, to some, inevitable. This is the story of that moment. This is the story of why fans say the marriage meltdown was coming, and what it means now that the mask has fallen. Stay with me. Welcome. I'll be reading and discussing the events, the context, the history, and the human emotions behind that blow-up. Think of this as a long-form profile and narrative, a deep dive, part reportage, part reflection. I'll give you scene setting, quote-like reconstructions, viewer reactions, analysis of behavior patterns, and what insiders and fans have long suspected. I'll be careful. Much of what we'll cover comes from episodes, interviews, public statements, and fan reaction, not private revelations. Where I analyze motives or emotions, I'll be candid that I'm interpreting, not diagnosing. My goal is to give you a full, textured picture so you can understand why that moment landed the way it did. To understand the meltdown, we need to return to the stage and set the context. Kody Brown emerged into public view decades ago as the patriarch of a plural family, a man with multiple wives and a large brood of children. That lifestyle, for the documentary-style show Sister Wives, is not just a private choice. It's the central show element. The policies, the tensions, the logistics. Over time, viewers watched marriages tested by fame, finances, and the demands of televised life. Robyn entered the family later than the others. She was younger than the first wives and, to many viewers, seemed different in temperament and priorities. Early on she was described in show material as more private, less combative, a supportive presence willing to keep certain things off camera. But over the years, what looked like calm often hid fissures. What's essential here? When relationships are filmed week after week, the small things, who sits where, who is defended by the family head, who is dismissed, compound into a public narrative. That narrative can feel like pressure cooker heat for the people inside. Let's walk through the turning points, not as gossip, but as key events that built the emotional architecture of what unfolded. Early friction. From the earliest seasons, viewers noticed differences. Robyn's relationship with Kody seemed to carry a unique dynamic. Where other wives clashed publicly about children or church or money, Robyn often appeared both aligned with Kody and, at times, isolated from the rest of the wives. That isolation seeded a sense of favoritism among others, which viewers and family members later described as a recurring sore point. Shifting family alliances. As the family aged and members left, marriages broke down, children grew up and took sides, alliances shifted. Fans tracked moments, conversations that cut short, family dinners where tensions simmered beneath polite smiles, and repeated patterns where Kody would take Robyn's side in disputes. Those moments accumulated, public versus private. Meanwhile, Robyn's public profile increased. She had fewer children at home, appeared more on social media, and occasionally spoke directly to audiences in a way the first wives did not. To many viewers, that amplified the perception that she had a special role, and with special roles in a plural family can come exceptional expectations and resentments. The immediate lead-up. In the weeks before the meltdown, footage shows a house where small disagreements are allowed to grow. A conversation about parenting turns into a broader argument about values. A comment made offhand becomes a symbol of years of feeling unheard. The documentary editing emphasizes look-at-me moments, camera cuts that linger, pauses that signal a deeper reaction. Fans, attentive to editing patterns, said, "This is not a random blow-up, this is the logical next scene in a long story." When people tell you that a meltdown was coming, they mean not that the couple was doomed in some mechanical sense, but that repeated patterns, favoritism, unresolved grievances, unbalanced emotional labor, had created a landscape primed for collapse. Now, we arrive at the blow-up itself. I'll describe the scene as it appeared on camera and then unpack the subtext. Scene 1, The Spark. It begins innocently. A disagreement about schedule, or a tone that someone takes in conversation. Robyn, seen leaning forward, says something that is short, clipped. Kody replies with the kind of word that often functions in his family as a final word. Two voices raise, not loudly, but with the piercing quality you hear when years of small wounds erupt. Scene 2, The Turning Point. At that precise moment, Robyn shifts. For viewers who had known her as composed, this is what shocks. The facial expression changes from polite restraint to open anger. Her hands move. Her words sharpen. She uses the word, "I," in a way she often did not before, owning a grievance rather than redirecting it. Recordings show her saying something that is blunt and emotionally raw, something that names Kody's pattern without hedging. That she feels dismissed, that her feelings have been minimized, that she can't continue to be the safe harbor while being treated as though she owes everything and is owed nothing. Scene 3, The Collapse. That naming unmoors the conversation. Kody reacts defensively. The exchange becomes less about the spark and more about a history. The camera captures a close-up, a micro-expression of hurt, surprise, and then a kind of brittle composure. Out of the corner of the frame, other family members watch. Some move to intervene, some hesitate. The scene ends not with a tidy resolution but with rupture. Robyn stepping away, an unfilled silence, and the camera lingering as if to say, "This matter will not simply be edited away." Words matter here. When someone who rarely speaks sharply suddenly becomes direct, that is a rhetorical choice. It signals exhaustion and a refusal to continue carrying an invisible burden. Listen to the pronouns. Where previously Robyn used we or it, in the blow-up she uses I, emphasizing selfhood. There's often a sentence structure that lists grievances rather than objects. You always, you never, you made me feel. Those are not legal arguments, they are pleas for recognition. Kody's language, in contrast, tends to be categorical. That never happened, you're overreacting, and appeals to broader family order. That is the voice of authority trying to restore hierarchy. In plural families, authoritatively framed language often functions as social glue, but when the glue is used unevenly, it can also be the source of resentment. The difference in language shows why viewers felt the blow-up was inevitable. Two people using different rhetorical economies finally reaching a point where neither's idiom could bridge the other. Let's step back from the scene and consider two key concepts that explain why the meltdown landed so forcefully: emotional labor, and perceived favoritism. Emotional labor. Emotional labor is the invisible work of maintaining relationships, smoothing conflicts, managing kids' feelings, reading social cues, and being the person who keeps daily life from imploding. In many relationships, emotional labor is unevenly distributed. Over time, the person carrying the majority may feel invisible, exhausted, and resentful. Robyn, as viewers observed, had both the roles of peacemaker and protector at different times. When those roles accumulate without reciprocal support, the person doing the labor can reach a threshold. The moment she snaps is the public release valve of that private pressure. Favoritism. Favoritism, perceived or real, compounds the pain. In the Brown family's public narrative, Kody's decisions sometimes appeared to elevate Robyn. Decision-making, defense, and mutual support. Whether intended or not, that pattern created a view among other wives and even fans that Robyn occupied an outsized place in the family's emotional economy. Even if Robyn didn't ask for special treatment, the perception that she received it affected how others reacted and how Robyn herself internalized expectations. Being favored can be isolating. It can provide power but also pressure. To maintain the ideal, to be the unruffled partner, to accept more and complain less. Pressure without agency creates brittle stability. So when Robyn snapped, it wasn't only anger at a particular insult, it was the rupture of a long pattern. Labor unacknowledged, expectations unshared, and a tidal build of resentment finally reaching shore. How did the audience respond? Social media lit up. Comments poured in that ranged from empathy to schadenfreude. Some viewers cheered the moment as long overdue accountability. Others felt uncomfortable watching a private fracture made public. A few patterns stand out. Validation. Many longtime viewers, especially those paying attention to earlier seasons, wrote, "We saw this coming. We noticed the patterns." The blow-up validated what they had suspected, that the calm exterior masked ongoing problems. Polarization. Fans split. Some defended Robyn absolutely, praising her for finally naming mistreatment. Others defended Kody, saying that editing and narrative framing oversimplified a complex marriage. The ethics of spectatorship. This incident reopened the recurring ethical conversation about reality TV. Are we entitled to watch this? How much of a person's private anguish should be turned into public entertainment? Even fans who were engaged and curious often felt guilty at the delight some displayed at the spectacle. The real fallout is not only social media threads. It's family lines. Relationships that may or may not recover, reputations reshaped, and an indelible public record of a private rupture. Let's ask the counterfactual. Could the meltdown have been prevented? Maybe. Prevention would have required several things. Real, ongoing communication. A relationship cannot survive on patchwork conversations and PR-managed statements. It needs consistent, honest dialogue that addresses small resentments before they become grievances. Equal emotional responsibility. Both partners must shoulder emotional labor. If one partner consistently offloads the invisible work, the relationship becomes unbalanced and brittle. External support. Couples in public life need private, trusted spaces, therapy, mediation, or even close friends who are encouraged to speak truthfully. Public life creates distortions. Private counsel is essential. Whether those supports were present here, we cannot say. But their absence makes blow-ups more likely. It's tempting to assign blame to one person. The healthier narrative is to see how patterns, structural, historical, and interpersonal, created a situation where a painful release was possible. This single scene matters beyond the Brown family. It is a lens for broader questions. Power and perception. Power in intimate relationships is both real and perceived. Perception shapes how people behave, and how they forgive. If a partner believes they are privileged and the other feels invisible, the imbalance will erode intimacy. Reality TV's role. Televised life does two things. It magnifies ordinary dynamics, and it imposes a narrative arc. Producers and editors pick certain threads and stitch them into stories of conflict, redemption, or collapse. That editing creates audience expectations and accelerates internal family drama. The human cost. Behind every viral headline is actual human grief. The meltdown is raw evidence of that human cost. It's not only drama, it's people feeling unseen, betrayal, fear, and sometimes relief. We should remember that the largest consequence is lived, not viewed. Perhaps the only sober takeaway is this: relationships require real work away from the cameras. When that work is neglected, the cameras will capture the consequences. Robyn's snap was dramatic. It was also understandable. For fans who have watched the story unfold for years, it felt inevitable. For the family inside the story, it is a wound that must be tended in private, and perhaps with professional help. As viewers, we're invited to ask different questions. What responsibilities do we bear as spectators? How do we hold compassion for people who are famous but still vulnerable? And finally, what are we seeing when we watch a marriage collapse on television? Are we seeing truth, spectacle, or both? If you've followed this story, if you have thoughts or memories of earlier seasons that illuminate today's events, I'd love to hear them. Share in the comments. If you want more deep dives like this, character breakdowns, scene analyses, long-form narrations, subscribe and click the bell. And if you think this piece should be longer, or to be turned into a two-parter with interviews, leave a note below. Thank you for listening to this long-form reading. Take care of each other, and remember, behind every headline is a human life.